All right, everybody, we're about to get started here. All right, so welcome everyone to the 2018 year-end PACE market update. My name is Christian Koch, and I will be kicking off today's webinar. And the purpose of this webinar is to provide an end-of-the-year update on the growing PACE market here in Michigan. As 2018 has been a big year for Lean and Green Michigan, we wanted to share with you the successes of this year, and as the new calendar year quickly approaches, we also want to give you a sneak peek of what to expect in 2019. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for later viewing. We will be having a session for questions at the end. But if you would like to drop a question anytime during this presentation, feel free to use the chat box. So before we get started, we'd like to begin by introducing the Lean and Green Michigan team, in which Bali and I will share a bit of our backgrounds and our roles here at Lean and Green Michigan. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Bali.
Hi, everybody. All right, so my name is Bali Kumar. I'm Chief Operating Officer of Levin Energy Partners and the Lean and Green Michigan team. A bit about my background. Undergrad at Brown University, did my master's at the London School of Economics, and then was a management consultant at Deloitte in London in the UK. Then went on to law school to Berkeley, practiced law in New York and in California for an international law firm called Proskauer, and then made my way to Michigan, where I was appointed the executive director of the Wayne County Land Bank. And after some time at the Land Bank, came over to the Lean and Green Michigan team. So I'm a licensed lawyer in New York, in California, and in Michigan. And I have a lot of interesting background that all sort of filters into working on this team, both in terms of real estate and in terms of closing deals and in terms of, efficiencies in management consulting generally. Also, I'll talk about Todd Williams, who's our senior counsel. He's a really important member of our team. He's licensed in Ohio and Michigan to practice law, and he's been a PACE attorney since 2010. He's done over 150 deals and helped establish new jurisdictions both in Michigan and in Ohio. So he's very well versed in PACE, really gets it, and has been really instrumental to help us close deals, and he's going to be instrumental going forward. And now I'll turn it back over to Christian.
All right, hello everyone. I am a graduate of Michigan State University's James Madison College, where I studied social relations and policy and minored in science, technology, environment, and public policy. During my undergrad, I gained most of my professional experiences in Lansing, working for nonprofits, government affairs organizations, and then as a legislative fellow at the Michigan House of Representatives. After graduation, I moved to Traverse City, where I worked as a clean energy fellow with a few local nonprofit groups, alongside local energy experts and the Traverse City Green Team to help facilitate Traverse City's transition to 100% clean energy. This past summer, I was also a fellow to the Michigan Clean Energy Leaders Project, which was a program started by Levin Energy Partners' former COO, Corey Connolly. And now at Levin Energy Partners, I am the business development driver, where one of my primary responsibilities is to drive business and economic development around PACE financing. So I'm often the first point of contact with property owners, contractors, and other relevant stakeholders, and I'm always happy to chat or meet with anybody who might be interested in hearing more about PACE. So as a quick refresher on PACE financing, PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, which serves as a no-cost economic development tool for commercial property owners to receive 100% financing for energy efficiency, water efficiency, and renewable energy upgrades to their properties. PACE financing in Michigan qualifies with commercial, industrial, multifamily, and nonprofit buildings, but not governmental buildings nor residential properties. And according to Architecture Group 2030, over 47% of energy use in the United States comes from buildings, and 30% of that energy and that expense is being wasted. And since comprehensive energy efficiency projects can be quite costly for property owners, often taking 15, 20, 25 years to pay back, property owners continue to waste energy and waste money. And this is where Lean and Green Michigan comes in. Through the development of the statewide PACE program, we help property owners, lenders, contractors, and local governments deploy this economic development tool in an efficient and accessible manner. We work with all parties to develop and maintain the PACE marketplace in Michigan. Our main focus is always on assisting property owners to get through all stages of the PACE process, from finding a contractor or lender to the final closing of the PACE loan. And to facilitate this matchmaking, we actively develop and maintain lists of interested contractors and lenders. So for contractors who have completed our training to become PACE certified, we maintain a listing on our website, and we are always willing to work with new contractors. And later, we will also discuss our plan to make training more accessible for them in 2019. We are also always willing to engage with new lenders and continuously work to identify national and local lenders who are willing to invest their capital here in Michigan. So basically, our main role is to ensure that each PACE project follows the requirements outlined in the state statute, local jurisdiction PACE program reports, and that all paperwork for PACE financing is completed. We are here to solve problems for property owners, develop business for contractors, and create investment opportunities for lenders. So basically, we facilitate the PACE process so others don't have to. Here is just a brief list of some of the benefits of PACE financing. And as you can see, the benefits are pretty holistic and go beyond just the involved parties of the property owner, the PACE contractor, and the PACE lender. So PACE really makes for a multifaceted win-win situation across sectors and for the environment. To date, Lean and Green Michigan operates in 37 local units of government across Michigan, covering nearly 70% of our state's population. Since 2012, we have also closed over $21 million worth of commercial PACE financing. Later on in this presentation, we will also share with you the amount of growth the Michigan PACE market has seen throughout 2018, which we consider our biggest and most game-changing year yet. All right, so this map shows the regions across Michigan where local governments are participating in the PACE market. And as I mentioned, the Lean and Green Michigan PACE market covers almost 70% of the state's population. That's made up of 23 counties and 14 cities. I did want to quickly note that the one jurisdiction this map does not yet include, however, is Heartland Township, which is our most recent local government to join the Michigan PACE market. And in addition to Heartland Township, 2018 also welcomed the City of Jackson and the City of Kentwood to the PACE network. Kentwood was the first of these three to join back in June. Then the City of Jackson joined in September, and Heartland Township joined in October. So welcome aboard, Heartland Township, the City of Jackson, and the City of Kentwood. Now to share a brief recap of the PACE market in 2018 and hit some of the highlights before I turn the presentation over to Bali, who will be providing a deep dive into a few of our case studies of PACE projects from this year. As mentioned, 2018 has been a breakout year for PACE in Michigan. This year, we garnered much attention for our projects with coverage in the media, including articles in Crain's Detroit Business, Midwest Energy News, and Michigan Public Radio, all acknowledging this year's successes and continual expansion of the PACE market. We have also set new highs, closing the three largest PACE projects in the state, Liquid Web, Roberts Riverwalk, and the St. Clair Inn. This year, Lean and Green Michigan closed 6 projects, totaling to over $15 million worth of financing. We do have one additional project, which looks like it will close this year, which will be about another $2 million of investment. So we would like to highlight some of the projects which closed this year as they demonstrate the broad appeal of PACE across types of property owners and sizes of projects. So with that, I will go ahead and turn the presentation over to Bali, who will be providing a summary of a few of our closed projects of 2018.
And it looks like we got a question. So before I move on to that, let's see what the question is. Yeah. And I see that there are a couple of counties that are lined up to be voting on PACE and to join the Lean Green Michigan Network. And so we're looking forward to that and folks joining as soon as possible. And to the extent that our team should be at any of these meetings, we're happy to show up and answer any questions. Thanks, Buck. All right, so back to PACE projects in 2018. It's been a big year. PACE is really starting to take off, and folks are understanding that it's a useful part of either the capital stack for a new construction or gut rehab, or it's useful just for retrofitting existing buildings. So now that people are really understanding it, people are really looking to use it and utilize it to the extent necessary. Looks like another question. All right, perfect. All right, that was a comment, not a question. Great. All right, so projects in 2018. So the St. Clair Inn, Michigan's largest PACE project to date, over $5.5 million in PACE financing. It was a part of a larger capital stack. And this is really breathing life back into a property that, is a registered historic landmark from 1926. It's in St. Clair County. This deal closed in March. And so with the $5.5 million that was financed over 20 years, there still results a net 20-year savings of about $2 million. So this means that in spending $5.5 million over the life of the loan, they're going to be saving $7.5 million. So this is a real good way to show that PACE financing is useful because it doesn't require any money down. So they paid no money down to get this financed amount. And the energy savings, as required by the PACE statute, as required by law, pay off the loan. There were a ton of energy conservation measures in this deal. LED lights, water saving, efficient appliances, Energy Star windows. So much can be done to help improve the bottom line, but also become more sustainable. And this is our largest deal. All right, we do have a question, so I'm just going to stop and take this one. The question is, will there be outreach to local banking community, including credit unions, regional banks, local banks? So yeah, this is actually a really important question. So the banking community is not as familiar with PACE as they are with other parts of capital stacks. And so this is something that we're working with local banking communities and we do it on a case-by-case basis. Whenever there is, an underlying mortgage on the property, the statute requires us to get mortgage holder consent. Right now, nationwide, there are about 190 banks that have provided mortgage holder consent. And it sort of takes some time to get to yes, but they end up getting there in the end. And these are big banks and little banks that have approved nationwide. So there's Citibank and Bank of America on that list, but then there are also local credit unions and whatnot. We have a list of entities in Michigan that have approved PACE going forward, but it's really just a matter of education. And we at Lean Green Michigan are happy to take the lead on educating folks on why PACE is important. And although a PACE loan subordinates, all other liens, it's not a true subordination because upon default, the loan doesn't accelerate. And because the loan travels with the property. So it's a non-recourse loan. So it's really just a separate matter and not not something that directly conflicts. But again, we're happy to talk to further members of the banking community and whatnot. All right. So that was St. Clair Inn. I'm going to move on to some more projects from 2018. Hatchery. Hatchery is one of the smaller deals that we've done here in Michigan, but it has a huge impact. This one is in Waterford Township in Oakland County, and it was purchased under new ownership when most of the energy equipment was sort of at the end of its lifespan. So Pace came in, provided capital to upgrade the building and, give the tenants a more comfortable place to live while also lowering their utility bills. The amount financed was about $1.8 million, so $124,000. And over 20 years, this results in a net 20-year savings of $175,000. So zero down, $125,000 loan results in $300,000 in savings. So again, Pace is really just a no-brainer in a lot of cases. There are, this project consisted of LED lights and new HVAC and some water-saving measures. So there are a lot of different measures that can be eligible for Pace financing. Pretty much anything that results in a reduction in the water, gas, electricity bills, we can find a way to make it useful for Pace financing. Renewable energy obviously also counts. All right, another question. All right, so another question about loans and other entities. So whenever there are other entities involved, so if USDA is involved or MISHDA or another entity like a federal or state provider of loans, please get us involved early so that way we can speak with the relevant people on that side and either educate them or point them to precedent. So for instance, USDA, if there's a USDA loan on a property, which there's a deal in the pipeline where a USDA loan might be a part of the capital stack, we can point them in the direction of a previous deal that we did where there was a USDA loan and, we got that approval. So that way they know there's precedent and they know that this isn't going to be an issue. And if we have to educate, we have to educate. Another question. Actually, I think I'm going to have to hold off on questions until the end, but please keep them rolling in and we'll address each of them. All right, so that was Hatchery. A couple more, and then we'll keep it moving. The Roberts Riverwalk Hotel. The Roberts Riverwalk Hotel closed in July. It's in Detroit on the Detroit River in Wayne County. This was the fourth deal in Wayne County for Pace, and this makes Wayne County the most active jurisdiction in the Leaning Green, Michigan market. This is a historic boutique hotel, and it's really going to be at the forefront of luxury and sustainability. This was a $4.76 million Pace deal. Again, over 20 years, the net savings is over $15 million. And note that the energy savings is guaranteed by the contractor. So energy conservation measures include LEDs, HVAC, and some solar. Building envelope is another key thing that is used for Pace financing. Just plugging up holes in the roof and in the building envelope can really help result in a lot of energy savings. And so it's quite important to do. Liquid Web. Liquid Web is the third deal done in Eaton County. Eaton County is also a leader in Pace. This was an industrial data center and had a lot of energy use. So there was $3.7 million in Pace financing. This is the third largest deal in the state thus far. It results in about $10 million in net savings. And this deal is interesting because whereas a lot of PACE deals have, many different energy conservation measures, this one just focused on HVAC. So there's a state-of-the-art, high-functioning AC, which is important for computer rooms because this is a data center. And the most important thing is to ensure that the servers are not too hot and not too cold because they have to protect the data. So, this is a very interesting PACE deal. It was the first data center done in Michigan. And, hopefully there are some more of these on the cusp. All right. And then the last one we'll talk about is 515 Ionia. This is, at the moment, the most recent project to close. We hope to have another project close in the next week or two. And we'll send out information about that via our email blasts, which we hope you all receive. This is really breathing life back into the Bellens Flowers building. That used to be an institution in Lansing, and it was one of the florist shops that people knew about in the neighborhood. It's in downtown Lansing, 2 blocks from the Capitol building, and this is a deal where there was actually a quite complicated capital stack, although the amount financed was less than $250,000. There was PACE financing in the capital stack, brownfield funding, traditional bank finance, obviously, and potentially some historic tax credits. So this is really just a blighted property that's going to undergo pretty extensive rehabilitation, and it's going to end up mixed use office and retail space and some multifamily units. So this is a project that had some solar, some combined heat and power, LEDs and sensors, and also an EV charging station, which is something that can be financed by a PACE. So PACE really has an impact on economic development. Obviously, the sum of the deals thus far in 2018 is over $15.25 million, but the impact on economic development is much more than that. We're creating local jobs by having PACE deals because you have local contractors being put to work. We're improving local building stock. And when you do that, then that brings to life other buildings in the neighborhoods and brings more people into the area. Also, it's good for property values. It sort of helps buttress property values in the neighborhood. So we think this is really positive, and we're really happy to be doing this work. So we'll talk about 2019, and then we'll get to questions because the questions are just pouring in. All right, so what do we have up for 2019? Well, first thing to think about is where is PACE activity happening? PACE activity is sort of happening all around the state. And so we had our map up earlier, and we represent 37 local jurisdictions across the state, representing just shy of 70% of the population of Michigan. We're seeing that the southeast corridor of Michigan is very busy with PACE. We see, mid-Michigan being busy, and Grand Rapids is really ready to jump off with respect to PACE. We have some places up north that have some deals in the pipeline. So PACE activity is sort of all around the state. What types of buildings do we expect to see close PACE deals? Honestly, anything, commercial, industrial, multifamily, agricultural. Right now we see that hotels are sort of leading the field in PACE, so we expect that to continue. We hope to close a new construction deal. We have had a couple in the pipeline. New construction deals obviously take a bit longer to close than a retrofit, but including PACE in the capital stack for new construction is a great idea. So that way folks can build in excess of code and really create some state-of-the-art buildings. PACE has also been used for a lot of gut rehabs. And interestingly, there are quite a few YMCAs that are interested in using PACE. And it makes sense that YMCAs and other nonprofits are interested in PACE. It really helps, like PACE is useful because it helps improve the bottom line, improve the net operating income of, for-profits and nonprofits. And so when you can extract some savings or at least spend less on your energy bills, then it allows you to focus on the mission of the nonprofit. And so YMCAs around the state have really keyed in on this, and it's a good way for them to put no money down, which means they don't have to burden their donors, and save enough money so that way it pays off the loan. Houses of worship are also interesting because we have some lenders who are interested in lending to certain houses of worship. So that would make sense to the extent that a house of worship has high energy use. It's basically a nonprofit, a targeted nonprofit. Multifamilies, we expect to see some more multifamily PACE deals, and obviously industrial properties. We have some new initiatives coming down the pipeline in 2019. We are pushing to create an expedited PACE for projects below $250,000. The larger deals take a lot of work to pull together, but for the deals that are under $250,000, as you all know, by statute, they don't require an energy savings guarantee. They don't require the savings to investment ratio to be greater than 1. And so because there's the lack of this requirement, then we don't have to worry about one of the hurdles in pulling together a PACE deal. And because we don't have to worry about that, it should be shorter and we should expedite it. And so we're coming up with a framework for expedited PACE. More on that later. We're also working to make our contractor trainings more accessible. What we want to do is make our contractor trainings available online so people don't have to drive an hour or two to a central location to meet for 4 hours to be trained and then drive an hour or two home, because that means that a contractor is losing an entire day. And so when an entity is sending 4 people, they're losing 4 person days. And, that's not as accessible as we would like. We want to ensure that anybody who wants to be a PACE contractor and who is trained up properly and credentialed properly can act in this market. So we're going to make our contractor trainings more accessible by having them online. We have some new branding and marketing ideas. We want to have more webinars on PACE, for instance, and we're really going to push so that way everybody understands and knows PACE, as opposed to people generally having a concept of it, not really getting it, and therefore dismissing it. So, we'd appreciate everyone's support in being out there and, proselytizing PACE. And if anybody has questions, you can feel free to send anyone our way. We answer questions every day for property owners, for economic development teams. We're happy to come in and do presentations. We're happy to meet with folks and have phone calls with folks. We're really here to ease this process, and we know that a lot of it is education. And so we're happy to help. So reach out to us anytime. So yeah, we're happy to do presentations, and we'll have some more. And what we ask you all to do is just recommend PACE. Go out there and just tell people to keep it in their mind and know that it's a useful tool, and to talk to us, and we can ascertain pretty quickly if it's useful for them or not. And, if it's useful, great, we're happy to help. If it's not useful, we're happy to just tell them so they're not wasting time. So again, this is our map. We're here to serve you all. And now we're going to start getting to questions. And at the end, we'll get to our contact information, which is here. All right. So back to the questions. Okay. All right. There's a question about loan to value ratio. All right. So this makes sense. Loan to value ratio. PACE deals are often capped, depending on jurisdiction, at 25% loan to value. This means that if the property value is $2 million, the max PACE deal is going to be somewhere around $500,000. But sometimes it's hard to hit that cap, or sometimes the cap is really pushing down on the PACE loan. So instead, what we focus on really is the as completed value. So if you're putting $500,000 into a $2 million property, that property value is probably going to go up. We could even say it's going to go up to $2.5 million. So then we focus on the 25% of the as completed value. So that allows you to take out a larger PACE loan. I'm trying to do, what's this, $625,000 is a quarter of 2.5 million. So that is helpful to folks who are having loan to value issues. Let's see. So this is a question about hatchery. Why did hatchery have a huge impact? Honestly, we think that all of our PACE projects have a huge impact. They all have impacts in the local community to sort of breathe life back into dormant properties or improve properties from before. Although this was a smaller deal, it really helps property owners get access to capital that they may not have otherwise been able to access for long terms and with low interest. A lot of rehab loans won't give you a 20-year loan, and they won't give you, such a low interest rate. We're seeing a lot of 6-ish% interest rates. So, we find that to have been useful. Also, this is the first PACE deal that was completed with the Oakland County governmental unit. And so, that's also sort of a historic moment for us. How to find qualified lenders? That's a good question. All right, so qualified lenders are really any commercial lender that understands PACE. We at Leading Green Michigan have done a lot of education with lenders around the nation. We have sort of a stable of lenders. And so to the extent that you have a project and you need a lender, we are happy to connect you to a list of lenders who have capital and really want to deploy it for PACE. A lot of the lenders are not banks. A lot of these lenders are structured finance entities that have money from pension funds or money from insurance companies, because pension funds and insurance companies are really happy to deploy capital for 20, 25 years, whereas banks, aside from residential mortgages, often don't want to lend for longer than 10 years. One more question about fee structure. So our fee structure is we do 2% of at closing, we do 2% of amounts under 2 million, 1.5% of amounts between 2 million and 4 million, 1% of amounts between 4 million and 6 million, and 0.5% on amounts over 6 million. So it often results in a blended rate. Because what we do here at Leading Green Michigan is deal with the entire state. We are working to admit more jurisdictions, and we do a lot of project management and bring deals to close. These are our fees. We understand that, it is another fee, but this fee allows us to operate at no cost to local governments. So an alternative way of structuring this would be to have local governments pay us for our service, but that's not how we operate here. Local governments don't pay to participate in the Leading Green marketplace, and we are deal driven and we get paid off of doing deals. We are happy to talk with property owners about this and talk to folks on a case-by-case basis, but these are our fees, and we have to operate the market. Let's see. Any other questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, then we will end the webinar. This is our information. please feel free to reach out to any or all of us with questions, with deals. We're really a commercial team, and we're really excited to get deals done. And we're happy that all of you were able to make it to our webinar. So thanks for joining, everyone.